May the 4th is almost here, but for the rest of us nerds, we enjoy Star Wars all year long. For the gamer, Star Wars has supplied well over 100 video games since the birth of the franchise, and there are still plenty more on the way. But with that many titles out there to choose from, you don't want to get stuck with the Netflix paralysis of having too much to choose from. Don't worry folks, the Dove is here to give you 5 of the best Star Wars games to play. This first game is widely accepted as the GOAT Star Wars game, but I want to mention it right away because it is aging a bit. Despite the many ports to different consoles, Knights of the Old Republic is still waiting 21 years later for an official remake. One is in the works, but that's not why we're here. Knights of the Old Republic is still a quality adventure to take these days. The many characters, the multiple worlds to travel and explore, and of course, the fact that you can choose Sith or Jedi in your quest makes all the difference in the world. Sure, that difference really boiled down to just a few different levels, dialogues, and endings, but that gave nerds like myself plenty of reason to replay the game. The combat, in my opinion, needs reconstruction badly. Knights of the Old Republic features what some refer to as round-based combat, which is just a variation of turn-based combat. I've said in the past that the combat system from Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth would be an ideal framework to upgrade Knights of the Old Republic, and I still think that would be the best. It connects the old school ways with the modern day style. Regardless of the outdated combat, the story is one of my favorites in video game history and probably one of the best in the Star Wars universe, and I stand by that. This game takes place 4,000 years before any of the Star Wars movies, so it gave the writers a lot of freedom, and they used that really well. There's a fair amount of companions in this game, and most of them have really good stories behind them. There's also really good character development throughout. And if you haven't played this game, or have been living under a rock for the last 2 decades, the twist near the end of the game made this one of the best of all time. Knights of the Old Republic is available on Xbox Live, PC, Mac, and Nintendo Switch. Up next, Battlefront 2. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I do not recommend the remakes at this point. They have started off with a list of issues that Asper is trying to fix. No, I'm talking about Battlefront 2 from 2017. Although it came out 7 years ago, the graphics are still solid and the gameplay is a lot of fun. Whether you want to do co-op or just do solo missions, it's a Star Wars shooter game that you can play in either first or third person depending on your preference. The combat isn't too intricate, but most shooters focus on the gun and a few simple interactions. And the gunplay is very satisfying. I love shooting a blaster, and overall there is a good variety of blaster types. Sometimes during the campaign they will force you to use the guns they want you to use, but there is still a good assortment in the entirety of the game. They nail all the sound effects. The blaster fire, the ricochets, the echoes, all of it just creates a great atmosphere. All that attention to detail brings the blaster gameplay to life. The atmosphere on all the levels really does bring a nice Star Wars-y vibe, and that's what we're going for on this list. The indoor levels give you that artificial while still on a battleship kind of feel, and the outdoor levels are filled with vegetation and life, and it really goes back and forth on some levels. While this game came out to a crap reception because of all the loot boxes, they have since walked back on that, and all the characters are available for free. The loot is still there, but there is no pay to win, nor do you have to pay for all the characters anymore. The story is not my favorite on this list, but it definitely has some thrill to it. While dated, the servers are still working for online play, so this game is great to play alone on the campaign or online in multiplayer games and deathmatches. Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 version, available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Star Wars The Force Unleashed is a bit dated, but still a great title. The graphics these days will probably look the best on either PC or the Switch, but the game is available on PlayStation Classic Catalog and Xbox has it on Xbox Live. You play as Starkiller. Note to the nerds, that was originally Luke Skywalker's last name before George Lucas changed it because it didn't fit the character. Back to the game. Starkiller is a Force prodigy that was orphaned after Darth Vader killed his father right in front of him. But to be fair to Darth, he then saved the boy seconds later from an Imperial firing squad. But why he didn't just order them to leave or use his Force influence to recraft their memories is beyond me. Anyhow, your character Starkiller is an up-and-coming Sith Master Darth is hiding from the Emperor as Vader's secret weapon. Throughout the game, you travel around the system doing Darth's bidding, all the while peeling back the layers of what is going on. After you figure things out, you have an opportunity to choose a dark or a light path, with 2 different endings depending on your choice. Although it was a simple choice, I really enjoy games giving you that freedom to choose. It ultimately makes things fully immersive, and gives dedicated fans a reason to replay. And in Star Wars Unleashed, ultimately the game mechanics are a lot of fun, and you can see a lot of those mechanics used in current Star Wars games today. While a bit dated, there is still a good story in Star Wars The Force Unleashed, and the gameplay still feels workable despite being released in 2008. You definitely get to manipulate the Force, use the many powers a Jedi or Sith might use, and it is a whole lot of fun taking out waves of enemies as you Force push them indiscriminately off the map. Star Wars The Force Unleashed is available on PlayStations, Xboxes, Switch, and PC. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga doesn't get too much love from gamers, but that's because it's a LEGO game. Nothing at all against LEGO games, but some gamers instantly label them as childish and never give it a fair chance. I used to be one of those, until I started playing the games with my niece and nephew. While the games are aimed for a younger audience, there are plenty of good puzzles. The atmospheres are expertly crafted with attention to canon, and especially with the Skywalker Saga, the stories are as true to the source material as could be, albeit a very abridged version with a lot of extra comic relief. The controls are amazingly good. You wouldn't think the LEGO version would have solid lightsaber attacks with force pulls and other Jedi powers, but the game has you covered. And while the levels are pretty simple for a seasoned gamer, taking in the sights and character builds from the many Star Wars stories is worth the trip. You can play any of the 9 main Star Wars movies. Once you select a chapter, you essentially play through a shortened version of the movie level by level. I know it may sound like a bit of a slog, but the levels never outstay their welcome as the game tries to keep things brief and straight to the point. I just can't get over how deep this game truly is. There is so much gameplay for just one title, and it feels like it has all the fans covered. If you love the classic movies or the newest, they have you covered. If you want to be a Jedi or a scoundrel with a blaster, you get to enjoy both and all the droids in between. As I said, most of the gameplay is simple, but it puts you in the shoes of Star Wars' most iconic characters and gives you the feel of all their powers and struggles. If you're trying to get in the mood for the movies, this is a great way to play some of the most iconic moments no matter which movie is your favorite. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is available on Switch, PlayStations, Xboxes, and PC. And my number 1 recommendation is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It is the second game in the Souls-like series, and while I think both are phenomenal games and should both be on this list, the second game is graphically a step up from the first one, and the laundry list of powers in the second, along with the multiple lightsaber stances, make the second installment a bit better than the first. You play as Cal Kestis, 5 years after the plot of the first game, and you are simply just trying to find a place to lay low as a Jedi Knight after Order 66 still has looming effects nearly a decade later. When Cal and his friends discover there is a planet that was home to the Jedi long ago and would be a safe haven from the Empire, they spring into action and try to uncover Tanalorr and its mysteries. The story keeps players engaged throughout, and the voice acting is extraordinary. The graphics in Jedi Survivor are some of the best this generation of consoles has to offer as of release of this video, and you can play at 60 frames per second if you want. Along with that great backdrop, the gameplay is my favorite in the whole Star Wars catalog. The moves list is wide, and the stances add a lot of depth and customization to your build. The Souls-like formula that Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor utilize fit the character leveling and the world designs perfectly. Each world is just so detailed, and there is quite the variety in level build, not only in layout, but the many worlds all have different features, creatures, and biomes of their own. Some of my favorite parts outside of the lightsaber fighting is just taking in the scenery. The graphics are so lifelike at times you may feel like you are watching a Star Wars movie. I just can't say enough about this game. The actual combat and abilities you can use while taking down the Empire give you that true power fantasy, but the game can still be challenging on the higher difficulties, especially in some boss fights. The balance this game struck with the power of your character and the overall challenge is truly remarkable. This title is an absolute gem. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is available on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Folks, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like more content like this. For even more content, go to twohatsandabeard.com or check out our YouTube page. Until next time, this is the Dove.